Dr. Stefanou is administrator of USDA's Economic Research Service. He assumed his current position in 2020 following a very distinguished career in academia. Prior to his arrival at ERS, he was a professor and former chair in the Food and Resource Economics Department at the University of Florida, and also a professor of agricultural economics at Penn State University. Dr. Stefanou is a fellow of the Agricultural and Applied Economics Association and held visiting positions at universities in Greece, the Netherlands, Italy, and Austria. He received his PhD in agricultural economics from the University of California, Davis, his MS in agricultural and resource economics from the University of Maryland, and a Bachelor of Arts in anthropology from George Washington University. We're delighted not only to have him speak today, but to have the Economic Research Service staff, so many of them located in Kansas City now. And so please welcome him to the stage for an update from ERS.
Great, thank you, Sarah, for that kind introduction. It's great to be back in Kansas City. And if we can have our first slide up, please. So I'm going to talk about some of the emerging challenges in agriculture as we see them at ERS and how we do our research. Next slide, please. So the Economic Research Service focuses on anticipating trends as well as handling the emerging issues that impact agriculture, food, the environment, and rural America. And we do this as a policy-informing activity for all stakeholders among public policymakers as well as other stakeholders. And when we talk about anticipating trends, I like to characterize this as moving without the ball. Oh, I see I have a slide thing here. Trying to put ourselves in a position kind of to make the play. And I'll give you a couple examples. We are also one of 13 principal statistical agencies in the federal government. Most nations have one principal statistical agency covering all the fields, all the areas of the economy. In the US, we have 13 different ones here, and ERS is one of those. NAS is another one, so USDA is unique in having two agencies, principal statistical agencies, in the same department here. And our focus is on quality, objectivity, transparency. We have a large measure of independence. We develop the schedule of when we release our data products. There's no interference in when we release and the content of what we release. So I'm going to talk about 8 recent releases that we've had here at USDA, at ERS. And the first one here is the Food Nutrition Assistance Landscape. And this is an annual report we do. This came out in late June. And if you're interested in this area, it's a pretty comprehensive report. There were 15 domestic food and nutrition assistance programs that affect millions of Americans. And they account for over 2/3 of USDA's annual budget. So in response to the pandemic, USDA launched additional temporary programs and implemented numerous policy changes that expanded the scope and coverage of existing programs. Together, these programs contributed to $183 billion in spending on food and nutrition assistance in fiscal year 2022. So this is based on preliminary data from USDA Food Nutrition Service, and this report highlights here are the nature of our assistance program. That $183 billion is actually 6% lower in inflation-adjusted dollars than the prior year, and the decrease was primarily driven by lower spending on the pandemic electronic benefit transfer program. Over 41 million people are participating in the SNAP program, and that's actually down just under 1% from the prior fiscal year. And we have the National School Lunch, other aspects to acquire food, other opportunities, National School Lunch Program, School Breakfast Program, and the others listed there. And those combined offered almost 9.5 million meals. And so it's quite a major part of what we do here at USDA. The next item here is the International Food Security Assessment. And this is a 10-year projection here. So we look at 83 countries and 5 regions. These are the most food insecure regions in the world. And the highlight of this year's report is a 3.7% growth per capita in GDP is projected. And so that's going to be a relative easing of international and domestic food commodity price, and an easing of these commodity food price levels are going to contribute to less insecurity. So food security is projected to significantly decline by 2033, and this is largely driven by projected income growth in GDP. Farm income forecast. This is a very popular product that we put out. This was last released at the end of August 31. And this is looking at financial status of the farm economy. And US ERS's farm income statistics also inform the ag contribution to the US GDP estimates that come out. What we found here is when we adjust for inflation, net farm income forecast decreased about 25% in 2023 relative to 2022, which was a very high year. But even on balance, a 20-year average has a U.S. Farm economy above the historical average here of above about almost 23% above the historical average. So we had a record high in 2022, as I mentioned, and forecast here is to decrease by 23 billion. So still, can't go up every year. A third forecast for the farm sector income is coming out at the end of November, beginning of December. We'll be announcing that date shortly. The next one I want to mention is our U.S. Ag Trade Outlook. This was released at the end of August 31, and U.S. agricultural exports in the fiscal year 2024 are projected to be down $5.5 billion from the revised 23 forecast. The global economic outlook for calendar years 23 and 24 remain positive despite several economic challenges, and these challenges include continuing inflation concerns, not just in the U.S., but worldwide, uncertainty regarding monetary policy, macroeconomic issues in China, and the Black Sea grain trade disruptions due to the Ukraine war. This report here, analysis, is just released last week. It's on scenarios of global food consumption and the implications for agriculture. This is based on a model that we have on the farm economy and world agriculture, and it does a projection from 2011 to 2050. And it's an income-driven food demand scenario that we're observing, and production of world crop calories is going to increase by 47%. So we can get calories from crops, we can get calories from livestock. The demand for food calories and crop calories increases over time in all of our scenarios, and most of the adjustment is through increases in the crop yield, so an intensification effect. And the amount of cropland is also projected to increase. It's extensification effect, but by a smaller percentage. So there'll be some reallocation of land projected as we go out to 2050, but still the idea is how do we feed a growing population in the next 25, 30 years. We also put out state agricultural trade data. Look for the next release in a month from now, October 25th. And so we provide information regarding both states' imports and exports, and ERS relies on the Department of Commerce data from the Bureau of Census, and this data provides a top 5 ag import and export commodity groups, provides their value for each state, and the top 5 countries of origin for imports and destination for exports for each product by fiscal quarter. And so you can download these data. They're available for you. It comes out in an Excel sheet. Farm Bill, like the word cloud presented, is top of mind for all of us. We have a Farm Bill team assembled at ERS, and what we do there is we huddle up and we try to collect all the research and data programs at ERS that cover the breadth of USDA programs touched by the Farm Bill. Farming, nutrition, conservation, rural America, rural development, research, and energy. So one example is the U.S. Agricultural Policy Review. This was an inaugural publication. It was released in February. The 21 report was released in February, and it examines annual developments in U.S. policies on ag production, the agricultural food value chains, food nutrition assistance programs. You'll see the next report, the 2022 report, come out in a few weeks. Area and road ruggedness scales. So how is it to travel around in the U.S.? This is information that's used by various agencies for allocating funds. One is the Federal Office of Rural Health Policy, for example, where are disadvantaged areas in terms of travel. And this is a data product that we've reconfigured here. To our knowledge, this is the first ruggedness measures with full nationwide coverage in the US, and it provides a roads-only version to help study the impact of rugged terrain traveled by car, not as the crow flies. Okay, this is a measure that looks at elevation and ruggedness, 5-category measure. This is for each census tract. The US Census puts out a ruggedness type of data product, terrain data product by county. This is by census tract. There are 3,000 counties in the country, 84,000 census tracts. And so this recent report uses the data here to analyze population density, and income across the road ruggedness categories, rural areas, and all regions in the US. Now, if you're interested in this, in the next couple of days, you can catch the data training webinar. Now, we do a number of data training webinars. We invest a lot of effort in data, and we thought a lot of folks would be interested in these. We do about 8 a year. And so this is one example of a data training webinar. We have copies of this report, by the way, at our booth in the back of the room. And so you'll see this coming up in the next few days here. Everyone loves data visualizations. We have about 60 of them available. And so these slides will be available, as Sarah mentioned, in the next week or so. The URLs are there. Happy to visit with you if you want more information on these. But these data visualizations provide a number of different perspectives at a glance, getting some insight into particular issues related to the ag economy. Now, I mentioned that we try to anticipate trends and deal with emerging issues. My focus at ERS has been, we're looking at relevant questions, and part of being relevant is being timely, and being timely on these emerging issues. So the COVID-19 pandemic, we stood up a different publication series to try to get our research focused on this challenge and out in folks' hands as quickly as possible, subject to all the reviews that we have. The agricultural markets in Russia and Ukraine, in particular, taking our international food security assessment into account of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, what its impact's going to be to these countries around the world. Infant formula shortage. This is a great example of anticipating trends and hitting emerging issues. Who knew that 90% of infant formula is produced by 4 companies? Well, we knew that. We did a report on that actually about 11, 12 years ago. Who knew that over 50% of households with children taking nursing or taking formula, over 50% were the WIC families. We had developed that estimate and did that. So when the infant formula crisis hit, the shortage hit, we were able to take our current data, merge it with our measures, our measurements that we've already developed, and provide almost real-time updates to the Office of the Secretary and the White House on where the formula is, because WIC families have a different formulation for formula. It's higher in iron, higher in calories, and we're the communities that needed the WIC families. Were they getting access to formula as opposed to the nation as a whole? So that was one great example of how we were able to step in and kind of meet our anticipating aspect, moving without the ball, and being able to make the play. And again, I mentioned the international food security assessment, being able to pivot quickly to the grain trade challenges of the Russian-Ukraine war and what its impact was going to be. And the impact is going to be on sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia. We know those are the regions getting these grain taking the imports of that grain. What's going to happen to their food security levels? And we were able to manage that analysis fairly quickly. Just a couple of save the date reminders. There's more as well. We have a household food security report in the United States coming out. That'll be out October 25th. It's a little later than normal because we had a change. Additional questions were added into the survey. Rural America at a Glance will be coming out. That's looking at the economically diverse nature of agriculture in our rural areas, with increasing employment in rural and healthcare, hospitality, other service industries. So this is going to look at all those changes in the economic sector, labor force, and even job growth. And the last one to mention is America's Farms and Ranchers at a Glance. This is another annual product we put out. Keep in mind, this is previously was known as America's Diverse Family Farms, and it's the latest statistics on U.S. farms, including production, financial performance, pandemic assistance, and farm household financial characteristics by farm size. And with that, I'll just leave you a number of ways you can access our work. We have a charts and note in particular, and I encourage you to take a look at that. It's available on the mobile app, and as well as we put out work out on a number of social media streams. So with that, I'll pass it back to our Master of Ceremonies, and I'm a little disappointed we did not arrange for Taylor Swift to be at this event, but I guess you don't have a skybox. So thank you very much. I appreciate your interest.
Yeah, I know that the Taylor Swift coverage was all the rage yesterday, but I think I would have been really happy to have Patrick Mahomes show up too. So we'll keep working on it, Spiro, see what we can do. Thank you for that. I think it's so important to know that these resources are available, especially, I know for our team, we rely on those of you who provide great data products so that we can better inform our readers about what is actually happening in addition to what people are saying should happen or might happen. So before we turn to our next speaker, I'd like to have us all hear a message from one of our sponsors who are enabling us to bring all this great content together. So please listen to Regrow Ag.
impacting how we grow, distribute, and access food. Agriculture, specifically resilient farming, can help producers adapt to the stresses of climate change while combating both its causes and effects. At Regrow, we use science, technology, and software to make resilient farming possible on every acre around the globe. We work with people across the food supply chain, from the people producing our food to those who sell it. Our software, backed with leading science and technology, helps partners and customers measure their impact on the environment and identify the places where change will be most impactful. Then, we help model the changes that will be most sustainable environmentally and financially. Finally, we track partners' progress against sustainability goals. All of this in service of a more sustainable food system. Sustainability leaders back progress towards their goals with trusted, verifiable information. That maximizes impact for brands looking to make a true difference. Ecosystem market sellers work with our scalable, transparent platform to bring sustainable practices to more producers and drive incentives for those practices. By identifying field-level trends and optimizing farm management decisions with our tools, producers can build crop and soil resilience on their farms. At Regrow, we believe science and technology can transform agriculture. We're proud of the producers, advisors, supply chain partners, and food companies that leverage our tools to create a healthier and cooler Earth, one field at a time.